I brought this podium, so I'm going to stand next to it. I want to talk about, really quick, I want to kind of touch on something that Michael talked about. It's something that I hear a lot from what we call butters. Those are people who say, I support the Second Amendment, but you shouldn't be able to carry around open firearms like that. One of the things that people have told me is, how would you like it if a bunch of black people were walking around with rifles in your neighborhood? I said, I'd probably join them. Why does it have to be different, whether it's a black person or a Hispanic or a white guy or a woman or anything like that? So, Michael's spot on. We have not gotten past our history yet. And I'm one of those that admits that one of the problems we have is that law enforcement is still enforcing laws differently. And that's something that we need to fix, because I have no doubt that had my son and I been a black man walking down the road that day and I'd have done what I did as a black man, I'd probably be dead right now. So we've got to change this mentality in law enforcement that is bullying certain segments of our society. Now, on to what I wanted to talk about. Obviously, a lot of people have heard my story about what happened last year. And after it happened, obviously it got a lot of publicity. And it really affected me and my son to a very great degree, both mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It was a very traumatic event for both of us to go through. Now, I've got a lot of tools as a soldier to be able to deal with that trauma. Obviously, I tried to remain as calm as I am, and I think I have combat to thank for me not overreacting too much during my arrest. But I realized I don't want what happened to me on the side of the road that day to happen to another single person. And so I started Open Carry Texas as a way to educate not only the public, but to educate law enforcement about what the laws are in Texas. And we've had a lot of success in that. And I credit the 12,000 plus people that have joined Open Carry Texas. There are thousands of other people in different groups. I want to thank Come and Take It Texas. I want to thank Texas Carry. All these organizations that have popped up. During my trial, this is the story of the toothbrush. I'm sure everyone's asking, why is he carrying an assault weapon of oral hygiene? During my trial, which was probably two of the most corrupt trials I've ever seen. Of course, those are the only trials I've ever had to go through. I've never been arrested in my life. But during my trial, there was a point where the prosecution was badgering my son, because my son had overheard my wife and I talking about the case. And there's a silly little rule in our criminal justice system where witnesses are not allowed to talk about the case prior to, any time during the trial, because we don't want to taint certain witnesses. Well, my son's room is right next to my wife and I. So when the prosecutor started questioning him about whether or not, we had talked to him about anything, he was honest. He's an honest kid, and said that he had overheard us talking about it. Well, then the prosecutor started badgering him and tried to tell the judge that we had violated some law and all that kind of stuff. So the judge pulled the prosecutor and pulled my attorney into back into chambers. And while they were back there, the judge called my wife and I local yokels and said he was going to throw us in jail if he had his way. He would throw all three of us in jail, me, my wife, and my 15-year-old son, would throw us in jail to, quote, teach us how to be good parents. Wow. Well, when they came out of chambers, the judge asked the attorneys, do you guys have anything that you want to say before we continue? My attorney, Blue Ranefeld, said, Your Honor, you have been the most biased judge I've ever seen. This has been a complete sham of a trial. You've overruled every one of our objections. You've sustained every one of the prosecution's objections. And now you're calling my clients local yokels and said that if you had your way, you would throw them in jail and teach them how to be a good parent. I demand that you recuse yourself from this trial. If I'm lying and he pulls out a blue toothbrush and slams it on the table, I'm ready to go to jail. Yeah. So we carry these in honor of my attorney. There are many attorneys that will stand up to a judge like that. He put his career on the line doing that, and all the judge could say was overruled, and then we continued on with the sham trial. I do want to, my attorney team is here, well, he's sitting back here, Larry Calvert. It's a sad state of affairs when, in a country like America, when you leave your house, you have to have three things on you. You have to have your gun, probably your car keys, and an attorney. Yeah. Especially if you're carrying a gun. Thankfully, I was a member of selfdefensefund.com. It's a 12 bucks a month, and I'll be honest with you, there was a point where I was like, you know what, do I really need this? I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm never going to get arrested. And because I'm a member, they're representing me for free. And if you get a chance, help them to help me by either joining selfdefensefund.com or donating to at least help them to fight for my case. Our case is still in appeal right now. Now, I don't want to talk about me too much. We are trying very hard in open carry Texas to get our laws changed in this state. It is a travesty. In 2012, when I got back from Afghanistan, I took my family on a trip. And we went to several national parks out in the Northwest and the Western states. And during all that trip that we went on, it was about a month long that we took, every state that I went to was an open carry state. I was able to carry my pistol from, while I'm in my car, and then I get out and pump gas. I didn't have to hide it. When I went to Walmart, I didn't have to hide it. If I wanted to go to the restaurant, I didn't have to hide it. And it wasn't a big deal. The entire time in that 1 month that I was out there carrying my gun, I had 2 girls that were teenagers come up and ask me about my pistol and why I was carrying it. And it was an educational moment for them. But no one batted an eye. Then I get back to the great state of Texas, the greatest state in the Union, and I've got to hide my pistol like I'm ashamed of it. This is the home of the Alamo. This is the home of Gonzales. And I can't carry a pistol openly? First of all, that's a blatant discriminating factor for women. And I'll tell you why. Women have very few options for carrying a pistol, because typically they're wearing dresses or maybe tighter clothing than men do, and to carry a concealed firearm, usually they have to keep it in their purses. Well, what happens when the criminal comes up and steals the purse? Not only is he now armed, but you're disarmed. And we should have that option to carry openly or concealed. And there's this idea that, well, if everyone's carrying, it's going to be like the Wild West, and all these people open carry. I guarantee you that if we pass open carry, not everybody's going to open carry. You're not required to, but we should have that option. During the summertime, when I'm dressed like I am right now, I should be allowed to still carry a firearm. I have to hide it. How am I supposed to hide it when I've got a tucked-in t-shirt and it's 112 degrees outside? It just doesn't work. So we've got to fix that, and I think we've made a lot of progress. You may have heard on Monday, we were invited to testify before the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Rural Affairs, and Homeland Security, or Defense, whatever it's called.
Whatever the theater.
Yeah, those guys. But we were able to go there and testify, and I made a concerted effort to write 7 pages of testimony because I was going to talk until they shut me up. And they shut me up at about 10 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that. But we were able to explain to them several things. First of all, open carry of firearms is a deterrent to crime. You look at states like Arizona that passed constitutional carry in 2010, and since then their crime rate has dropped 34.6%. 34.6%. And all they're doing is openly carrying their firearms. In Georgia, the city of Kennesaw passed an ordinance in 1982 requiring all citizens of Kennesaw to own a firearm. In 1 year, the crime rate dropped 84%. To this date, the crime rate is still 72% higher than it was prior to this ordinance being passed. So that tells you right then and there that guns are not the problem. Guns are the solution to our crime problem. Because the police department can't be everywhere, every time, all the time. We have 2 solutions to fixing the problem in this country. The first is that we disarm the public and we hire a few million police officers to be on every street corner, in every building, in every school, in every business, and basically have a police state. Or We arm the citizens. Which one do you want? Exactly, we the people. I am so fed up with those that are out there that are, these so-called butters that tell me that they would prefer to have their firearm because of the element of surprise. What are you going to surprise? A man that's already involved in a crime? If you've got a concealed carry permit and a guy's committing a crime and you have to use it, that crime has already been initiated. But if you've got that pistol and the guy walks in there and he sees your pistol, he's less likely to even start the crime. That's right. Let me go back to Kennesaw, Georgia. It's an anecdotal story, but I'm sure there are more like these all around the country that we never hear about. There's a reason we hear about this one. 2 carloads of thugs had pulled into the back of a Waffle House out in Kennesaw, Georgia. And they sent in a scout to make sure that, the coast was clear and they were going to be able to get away with their robbery of this Waffle House. The scout walks in, and this is about 5:30 in the morning. He walks in and he sees 2 gentlemen sitting down enjoying their waffles, both of them carrying .45 caliber 1911 pistols on their hip. Yeah. The scout goes back out, reports to the 2 carloads full of individuals, and says, there's 2 armed guys sitting in there, and they've got .45 caliber pistols. They were about to leave. Luckily, the reason we know about this story is there was a sheriff's deputy that was passing by about the same time and thought it was kind of awkward that there were these 2 carloads of people just sitting in the back of the Waffle House looking kind of suspicious. So he approached him. As he approached him, he saw and found inside the vehicle rifles, pistols, and ski masks and arrested him on sight. So if the idea is that me as an open carrier, I'm making myself susceptible to being the first one shot, why weren't these 2 individuals shot? Why did these 2 carloads full of people who obviously outgunned and outmanned the 2 people inside decide they were going to walk somewhere else and commit their crime?
Because they're cowards.
Exactly. Criminals are cowards. Criminals want to live to rob the next store. They want to live to rape the next woman. They want to live to rob the next house, whatever it is. So when they confront somebody that's armed, they're going to go about the other way. Gary Kleck did a great survey in which he found that 92% of crimes were deterred before they even happened. This was through interviews with people in prison about how many crimes they wanted to commit versus how many they did commit based on the fact that there was an armed citizen. There's a reason why people don't arm places when they walk in and they see a police officer. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. We need to have guns.
Yeah.
We need to arm ourselves and protect ourselves. And that's what we're doing here in Texas. One of the things that I found out a little bit later, we had TSRA and the NRA also testify on Monday, and a guy came up to me and said, and was thanking us for what we're doing in Open Carry Texas, because 2 years ago he had approached the NRA and the TSRA, Texas State Rifle Association, about open carry, and they flat out said they weren't interested. It's not a priority for us. No one cares about open carry. We've changed that mentality. We've changed that paradigm. So what we're asking of everybody is several things. If you don't join Open Carry Texas, join one of those groups that's out there walking around doing what we're doing. Our job is to go out there and educate. We don't like walking around with AR-15s, and I don't know about you guys that are out there carrying your rifles, but they're not very comfortable. And if you're out there, trying to do your shopping and getting in and out of your vehicles, it's kind of cumbersome to have to do that. But the problem is, in this state, anybody here 18 to 20 years old? Raise your hand. You got one? Okay, well.
What about in spirit?
In spirit, there you go. In the state of Texas, if you're an 18 to 20-year-old male, female, adult, if you're an 18 to 20-year-old adult, you cannot own a pistol. Period. Flat out. And our Attorney General, the man that's running to be governor, fought all the way up to the Supreme Court in support of this law. It was being challenged, and Greg Abbott went all the way to the Supreme Court to keep in place a law that disarms this man over here and 18 to 20-year-olds all across the state. So their only option for carrying and defending themselves is to carry a long arm or a black powder revolver. In San Antonio recently, we had a member that was arrested and tased. I don't know if you guys heard about that story. He was walking from a friend's house to his house. He was carrying a rifle. He's 19 years old. It's the only kind of firearm that he can legally carry in the state of Texas. And he was tased. He was tased for it. Because he was, and I don't know if you've seen the video, he was ultimately very kind and all that, and we've got to fix that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to fix that by putting Greg Abbott into Austin Capitol.
That's right.
We need a libertarian up there because our Libertarian Party is the only party of liberty. By the way, I say that as CJ Grisham, not as Open Carry Texas. we don't endorse any particular party. Our members are Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, everybody. I had one more thing to say and I forgot, so I'm just going to shut up. What's that? Oh. Anyway, so go out there and exercise your rights. You're not going to, I tell people you don't fight for the First Amendment by shutting up. You're not going to fight for the Second Amendment by keeping your guns at home. So go out there, exercise your rights, educate people the way we're doing it. There's a right and a wrong way to open carry. We're not out there seeking negative encounters with police officers. We're not out there baiting police officers. And these people that say, oh, you guys are just out there baiting police officers, what that really says is police officers aren't smart enough to know what the law is.
Here, here.
I know at least one that isn't. We have a bill, this is the last thing I wanted to talk about, I remember now. We have a bill that we wrote. We call it the Steve Ermis Act. Steve Ermis was my arresting officer. I thought I'd honor him. It does 5 things. It's a repeal bill. We don't need new laws. We need to get rid of laws. The first thing it does is it removes any restrictions to being able to openly carry your firearm. It removes any licensing scheme to require us to pay a Second Amendment tax to exercise our Second Amendment rights. It removes exemptions for the elite elected class in this state to where an off-duty police officer should not be allowed to carry anywhere I'm not allowed to carry. It would remove all the TABC codes that restrict you from carrying a firearm into some place that sells alcohol. I don't drink, but as a leader in the Army, I frequently serve as a designated driver so my soldiers can enjoy themselves without having to worry about driving drunk. Why is it that I can't carry a firearm into a bar? We got a lot of drunk drivers out there, and we don't ban cars because certain people go out there and drink and drive and kill people. So why are we doing that with guns? Fourth, it clarifies the disorderly conduct statute. This is the only thing that we actually add into the existing law because it's obviously got to be clarified. So the next thing it does is it clarifies the disorderly conduct statute that the mere open carry of a firearm absent any other illegal activity, and of course, as we know, an illegal activity is when there's a victim. Barring any other illegal activity, that is not disorderly conduct. One of the problems we have right now are these gun control bullies that are out there literally telling their members to call police if they see someone openly carry a firearm and tell them they're alarmed. That's the key word. So it fixes that. The fifth thing that it does, actually I think I brought up the fifth. I got them all. Here we go. It's a repeal bill. So regardless of who's in office after this election, and let's hope that it's a bunch of libertarians. Regardless of who's in office, when this next legislative session gets in session, ask them to support the Steve Ermis Act. Print it off. If you want to join, go to Open Carry Texas on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, join the group. If you're not a member of Facebook or you don't have Facebook or whatever, send me an email. I will send you the text of the act that we're trying to get passed so that we can get constitutional carry here in Texas. And this is a great time because not only for the first time ever did the Senate have this hearing about open carry specifically, but the day after this hearing, the Tennessee legislature voted to remove the licensing requirement for open carry. Why are we behind 45 other states?
That's right.
Thank you for all the support that you've shown me and my family during this time. Thank you for all the support that you've shown for our rights in the state of Texas. Thank you for joining those groups that you've joined in your neighborhoods, in your towns. Find the nearest one. Go to opencarrytexas.org, click on the local groups, and find a group in your area and go on a walk with them. Even if you don't have a firearm or you don't want to carry a firearm openly, take a flag. Just show up. Walk with us. And then we're going to get open carry passed in Texas. Thank you very much.